Diabetes. You can totally reverse type 2 diabetes. All right, guys. So we've got a lot of questions that need to be answered. So in one of my groups, I keep an eye on there, my WhatsApp group, a lot of questions. Too many to read for me daily because I get so many messages on all the other platforms. But I go through once or twice a week, keep track of the questions, see what's going on. Now, the Panda Diet, you have to realize, is a philosophy. It's not a diet, really. I call it that just because people are familiar with the term. And I'm very conscious of fasting and nutrition are two different things, right? When we combine the two with the way I teach people to eat, what to eat, with the way to fast, it's amazing. The sky's the limit. So here are some questions I'm going to answer. And what I'm seeing over time, the Panda Diet, it's like a game of telephone. The further out it gets, the more people that do it, it starts to get warped. It starts to get warped and turn into something it's not meant to be. So first off, don't bring your diet mentality to this. This is meant to free you from that. People are trying to way overcomplicate what I teach. It's a philosophy. So right out the bat, people say, what is the Panda Diet? Well, there's different protocols within that. The Black Panda, the one I live by majority of the year, besides when I'm doing the fat shredder and I go a little more intense. The Black Panda is a 48-hour fast, then 1 meal a day. Now, I have clients on all different variations of the Panda Diet. That's where assessing the person, what are their needs, what is their biofeedback, that's where we tweak that. Ultimately, within the scope of everything I teach for Mind Map, can you theoretically do what I'm having you do forever? That's the name of the game. So someone asked, what's your plan after reaching your goal weight with the Panda Diet? Also tied into another question, what do you do once you're done with it? You're not done with this, guys. It's not a diet. Get that through your head. It's not a diet. This is it. If you go back to eating 3, 4, 5 times a day, guess what? You're going to start building all that insulin resistance back up, and you're going to wind up right in the same spot that you were in. So this is not something I'm going to do it for a little bit, and then I'm going to stop. You can do whatever you want, but that's not what I teach. Eating late at night. People always comment out, you can't eat late at night. Another myth that I've blown up years ago. The way I grew up, my parents, my mom's side is Italian heritage. And because of their schedule, they would always eat late at night, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And this is what I witnessed just based on the work schedule. Look at that little hornet there flying around. Now, you got to look at the nervous system. You have the sympathetic and parasympathetic. This is part of the autonomic nervous system. Parasympathetic is rest, digest, sleep, recovery. Sleep, digestion, they go hand in hand. I prefer, for a couple reasons, to eat at night. I personally eat and then go to sleep. Sometimes I do my brisk walk at night, 10 minutes after I eat. Most of the time I eat, shut it down, I'm in the bed. Now, not everybody can necessarily do that. Maybe you want to give it an hour, maybe an hour and a half, but your metabolic rate does not shut off when you go to sleep. Got it. Look at that. That thing's coming after me. So that's not a problem eating late at night. Like, this is a huge myth. And I figured this out when I was bodybuilding, that if I backloaded my big meal when I was doing these intense caloric cuts and all this, I was able to sleep much better, right? So I prefer eating late at night. And for habit formation, most of you are not going to form a habit around eating lunch as your main meal because you might have families, you got social events, and most social events take place at dinner time. The ideal time of the day I'm very aware of physiologically to eat is around lunch. But I look at habits. What can we theoretically do forever? You have to be flexible with this. This is not meant to be rigid. One of my new one-on-one clients asked me the other day, well, what if, I've got an event. How strict do I have to be on this? You have a lot of flexibility with this, guys. Again, it's meant to enhance your life. The fasting cleans up so much. No rigidity, if that's how you say that word, within this, right? And organically let it take form over time. Becomes a way of living. Diabetes. You can totally reverse type 2 diabetes. 1,000%. And I've even had clients with type 1 diabetes that have had great improvement. So I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility that can be fixed. But type 2 diabetes is insulin resistant. What we're essentially doing on the physical level with the Panda Diet is healing your insulin resistance, getting you more insulin sensitive. So we keep that in mind. And a huge thing with that is people have this fear of carbs. Stop with the fear of carbs. What you resist will persist. If you cut carbs out for so long, like all these people teach out there, diets, You have to ask yourself, why are they telling you to cut carbs? Because in their mind, they're thinking it's going to be less insulin response. When you look at it, animal protein disproportionately spikes insulin. No reason to fear carbs. And when I help people that have diabetes, you'll probably be shocked at the protocols I put them on with fasting and a lot of carbohydrate. We cut protein and fat way down. So keep that in mind. And you want to use the anabolic effect of insulin to your advantage when it's time to feast. We're not trying to limit insulin at that time. We're just trying to get more insulin sensitive. And I talked about that in another video I just made about putting muscle on the Panda Diet. Totally doable. I have clients that do it all the time. You're setting up the right internal hormonal environment. What about getting hangry? I saw a few comments where people, I was really off. Look, food is a drug. Fits the definition of a drug. It affects the internal, anything that impacts internal, environmental, hormonal, and biochemical process of the body is a drug. And somebody said, well, I'm not there yet where I view hunger as fat loss. Well, you got to view hunger as an emotion. And once you get a grip on hunger and that it comes and goes, it's not the same thing as appetite. Hunger, we're meant to feel. And when you're hungry, guess what? Just assess yourself. Does your energy go up or down? It's higher. You're driven. You want to go out there and hunt and gather. So if you're watching on Facebook, I'll get to these questions at the end. Ketosis. Get that out of your mind. You do not have to be in ketosis. Even when I hit my 4 or 5 day fast, I'm barely scratching the surface of I'm lean, and I've gotten lean doing this. And this ties into somebody that asked about bulletproof coffee. Now, I like Dave. Dave is in one of my first books that I ever wrote. This is way back, 2013, pushing bulletproof coffee. I always say, well, what's the point? Why are you going to do that? Well, it gets me into ketosis. Don't worry about getting into ketosis. Theoretically, just fat, pure fat won't spike insulin, but I like to be strict with this. Right? I like to be strict with it. Boredom. Well, I broke it because I was bored. Well, do something then. You're an adult. Do something that's going to not keep you bored. I always tell people when you're fasting, you're in a longer fast, feed your mind and your body and your spirit in a different way. Maybe you read. Maybe you do meditation. Give yourself something to look forward to. Sometimes I'll sit in a hot tub, smoke a cigar, and just think. Get rid of boredom, right? Don't use boredom as the reason you break this. This is working on mental muscle. Mental muscle. Each time you succeed at this, you build more mental muscle. You just got to make it through that little bit of time. And if you ate because you're bored, that's a good clue that just assess, did I actually need to eat that? And a good thing, going back to the hungry thing, all this body fat we have, guys, even if you're lean, is food. It's food. Just pinch it when you feel that, oh man, all right, I got plenty on me. Let me tap into it. And the hunger diminishes over time. When you fast like this, ghrelin levels go down over time. Hunger signals get less over time. You start breaking the food entrainment patterns. Now, as far as one other thing that somebody had asked, well, I'm going to slow down my metabolic rate. Not so. When you do long form fasting, metabolic rate goes up because mitochondrial function goes up between 5 and 14%. Now, you do want to feast. Now, this ties into somebody said, well, the law of thermodynamics is always there. Listen, guys, if you have not figured out yet that calories are not the main factor in changing your body, you're going to be miserable your whole life. And people throw out, whoa, I used to think that too. The first law of thermodynamics? Energy can either be destroyed or created. Well, guess what? You've all experienced this. Metabolic rate is flexible, goes up or down 40%. We've all experienced it coming down when you do these stupid crash diets like I did for years when I was bodybuilding. Well, when you eat more, guess what? Metabolic rate goes up. Everything functions better. Fat loss becomes easier. Fat loss is not a priority when you're in a deficit. So take that thermodynamics law, throw it out the window. Caloric cutting deficit type diets have a 99+% failure rate. So when people say this is the only thing that works, just use reality math. That's all you got to do, guys. You don't need to know science. Just look, has it worked for you? Have you been able to keep the weight off? Is it sustainable? Is it enjoyable? Is it functional? The answer is clear. That goes into the maintenance calories. The first summer I did this, 2019, when I created the Panda Diet, I was tracking still, right? Because I was still in that realm. I'd already been intermittent fasting for 5 years. I started in April that year around 21, probably it was 2,050 calories. And I kept upping it each week that went by. Oh man, my weight keeps coming down. I was started close to 250. Body fat kept coming down. Muscle was actually going up, and I kept bumping my food up. Now I've got a huge appetite. I got to the point where I was almost doubling that. I was close to 4,000 calories on average at my body fat kept coming down. I cut 10% in the span of 4 months, knocked 25 pounds off, completely maintained muscle. So don't worry about maintenance calories. If you want to figure out your BMR just to see what that is, you can do all these Harris-Benedict equations, these fancy calculations. Just take your body weight times 10 roughly. If you're a woman, typically your body weight times 8. That's the amount of food that you would need just to sustain yourself laying in a bed, in a hospital bed. But build your appetite. Your body will get in what it needs. Again, this is a different metabolic pathway than dieting, the way most people know it. If you got body fat to lose, don't worry about it. Am I getting enough? You got plenty on you. Trust me. You can use that. Don't have to be in a deficit. One of the guys said, well, I lost all this weight. I didn't change anything. And now I put on whatever, 20 pounds, 30 pounds. This is one of the reasons I caution you to get off these deficit diets. You're going to develop metabolic damage. Let the hormones do the work. When people go on diets, my theory is the reason that it works initially is because you're producing less insulin because you're eating less. And then it stops working. So that is some of the stuff. But one more thing. Somebody said, how do you deal with cortisol? I'm feeling more anxious when I do this. This is going to expose, fasting is going to expose a lot of these flaws in our mindset, in the brain physiology. You don't need to limit cortisol, guys. It's an essential hormone. Now, if you have a lot of visceral fat, big beer belly, then obviously we're trying to heal that. But I've had people drop 7 points on their visceral fat in the span of 6 weeks doing one of my programs. Many times, right? And visceral fat is a direct response to excess cortisol. I've had people that have been depressed, that have been chronic anxiety. Panda Diet helps them work on that and overcome it because you're working on your inner dialogue. And it all comes down to that, the mind mapping. That's the real secret sauce, what I teach people, my clients, is the mind mapping. So hopefully that clears up some misconceptions. Let me answer a couple of questions over here. I like to have, well, I already talked about dinner as the one meal when you're doing that for habit formation reasons. You could have a pre-workout or energy drink. Just try to make sure it's calorie-free. The Panda Diet, it's a philosophy, as I was saying. It's my form of fasting, and we add the nutrition into that. Like, for example, we start with fruit at our meals. I focus on micronutrients. And if you have diabetes and high blood pressure, this is exactly what you should be doing. So I hope you like that. Leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share it, hit the notifications so you never miss anything that I am putting out. Later, guys.